wrote this song, I think it's 2 Thanksgivings ago now. Lay me down in a field of nothing with no one around. I've had enough of everyone in this town. I've had enough, just lay me down. Take me away in a little toy train to the heart of my brain. Just take me away where the loving ain't hard and the living is easy. There's love in my heart. Just take me away. Lay me down in a field of nothing with no one around.
Yo, what's up, brother?
Of everyone in this town. I've had enough, just lay me down. There's no change in the wind, there's no change in the weather. There's no telling when it all began, or if the end will be any better. I'm falling for you, babe, you know that I'm falling for you, babe, you know that I love you, I need you. Falling for you, babe, you know that I'm calling for you, babe, I'm falling, I'm calling. Just lay me down, lay me down, lay me down in a field of nothing with no one around. I've had enough of everyone in this town. I've had enough, just lay me down.
How you doing, Ronaldo? Stocky. How we doing? How we doing? Love this song. Love this song. Tell him it could be a #1 hit. Easily could be a #1 hit.
I can't help but cry. I wonder why. I look to the sky.
You gave me goosebumps. I literally just got goosebumps.
Pulling me down. I can't help but cry. Lay me down. Lay me down. Field of nothing with no one around. I've had enough of everyone in this town. I've had enough, just lay me down, lay me down, lay me down in a field of nothing with no one around. I've had enough of everyone in this town. I've had enough, just lay.
There we go. There we go. Look at that. Beautiful start off to a stream with Brady Pearl. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know the man, go sub to him. He is a freaking legend.
So I'm going for both.
And here we go.
Song I play, 'cause now it's my turn to
keep the wolves away. Then we have Ronaldo.
I no longer want to be called a survivor. survivor.
Renata
I want to be
Moreno.
called a victorious being. They may
Amazing.
have
A
dampened my
vocalist,
spirit long ago,
guitarist,
but they didn't kill it.
and great human being all
I'm
around.
victorious in the sense that I'm still here. I know how to love. I love myself. I love my family. I love my community. Never mind survivor. I'm victorious.
That's right.
There must be some kind of way out of here, said the joker to the thief. There is too much confusion. I can't get no relief.
How's everybody doing tonight? Got 3 people. No one. How's everybody doing?
This man, he said, drink my wine. Oil man, dig my earth. None of them, I said, along the line know what any of it's worth.
I just get amazed by people that can sing and remember everything they can sing and remember what they've sung in the past. Shit, I'd botch songs so bad.
No reason to get excited.
I don't care, but I know the beats, not the words. Beats though.
The thief, he kindly spoke.
How's everybody doing?
There are many
Man, I went from
here among us.
people must not like the music edition. It's not. But I'm gonna still run with it.
You and I, we've all been through that.
Yeah, no one likes to jam out the music to start out with.
This is not our fate.
It's like, I'm not gonna jump straight into it. I'm not gonna be a
So
2-pump
let's
chump
not
here.
talk
Gotta
falsely
get
now.
warmed up.
The hour is getting late. It's getting late. It's getting late.
Oh, I don't even have live. Oh, live chat. I gotta put live chat on.
All along the watchtower, princes kept their view. All of the women said they came and went.
Went live and lost everybody.
Barefoot servants too. Outside in the cool distance, while cat did growl, 2 riders were approaching, and the wind began to
Gotta love this shit. Gotta love it.
sit all
Put my
along
jar
the
back on there.
watchtower.
And
Sit up
I-
along the watchtower. Up along the watchtower. There must be some kind of way out of here.
I no longer want to be called a survivor. I want to be called a victorious being.
It's guitar outside.
And last but not least, the lovely guitar outside. Singing me a little song. A little song. Let's turn him up.
Driving through West Virginia, I seldom been thinner. Got this chip on my shoulder, and this past year I got so much older. looking back over my life.
The future happens when we explore new frontiers. Gemini is the future of finance. Invest in over 30 cryptos like Bitcoin, industry-leading security.
Pardon me. We have a positive trend here represented by the DMI. You can see that the RSI is floating above the center line, which is very positive. They have that positive trend I was talking about, and it's got the ADX to back it up along with lots of momentum. So this would seem very positive, but that daily take, that quick snapshot of the daily, that's a number of days together that have gone to create this picture across your oscillators. And when it comes to looking at price action alone, well, we've yet to cross this important decision-making zone, this liquidity zone, this big question marks. We've yet to cross it and stay above it. We are back in it. On the daily, touching the top side of this formation and holding now down perhaps below the low, though you could change that to different places on different time frames. We'll leave it here just now, because we're going to go and look at it in others. And you can see that price action has a positive leg up from this rolling over it had, and then a sort of recovery here, but only as far as on this you can see the wick takes you up to the 0.5 Fibonacci level from your most recent high to your most recent low. So a retrace of 50% of the trend doesn't quite break it. So nothing desperately positive yet, despite the fact that this is good, and yet another day above 200 with our low today at 203.63 and the high at 212.57. Hi, hello everybody. Hit that like button, thank you very much. So within this formation, is it inherently bearish? It quite possibly could be. It doesn't look particularly positive. On the daily time frame, perhaps it's a channel. On the 4 hour, looks a lot more like this wedge. Higher lows, higher highs. It looks like a bearish wick, especially with a bearish engulfing candle coming straight after it. This recovery not managing to open take us significantly above the 8-period moving average isn't particularly positive. This shouts to me that it needs to test something lower. When you look lower, 183 is the area this broke out from. Once you get there, you're back inside this formation, which some people call a wedge. Hey, I don't know where you're buying your wedges, but that's what they call it, a wedge. The bottom side, demand line, perhaps comes in at around $172. And so that would be where this price action is suggesting that I would look to take trades just on that little take and those things we've talked about. You can see you've had a cross on the MACD that's come above the 200-period moving average. You've had a positive success on this test of the trend on the DMI, and you are pushing above the center line on the RSI. That's all very positive, but this candlestick formation that came in with a bearish candle, the bearish wick before it, the fact that this represents slightly negative psychology if this trend continues in this wedge, and the break is more likely come to the downside. So we'll see how that goes. It sounds negative, but I'd very much like that. And you know, you've waited a year. Do you mind another couple of weeks? I don't. I'm quite happy for it. So here's your 200-period moving average at the top side of that formation that you might be breaking back into. It's at $190. The 200-period moving average is also there. That would likely put in a bounce. Whether or not it then goes up again would be interesting to see, but you've just had a golden cross here on the 4-hour time frame, which will likely be tested. I don't think you can call this most recent low that test. I think it will come in a minute or two here, a hot minute, and it'll be... It's obviously like in a couple of weeks, so I think less than that. And am I working? It's awesome, excellent. Still working. And yeah, so a likely test down to these areas. It could bounce off the 50 or the 200 or this downward sloping previous supply, now hopefully demand line. But here's your true support at this area, and when you look at that formation on the RSI, you can see that you've done most of what you could have anticipated. 1, 2 moves, and you've touched the top of the bullish control zone. Here you had 1, 2, 3, and here you had 1, 2, third, and 1, 2. You're in it already. Maybe you do get another push up here. Does it come in with a bearishly divergent high? That would necessitate us pushing up above at least the body closes at $228 and going for 252 to 255 again in order to burn off any potential bearish divergence. We'd need to also take our RSI up that height. which is a lot to ask. You know, this is a good setup, but it'd be better with retests. You know, these tests so far, they don't constitute tests of the things that I'd like to see, neither horizontal levels, the important moving averages, or the formation we just came out of. So it just isn't a test. And then back down to the 5-minute time frame, and we'll do that thing we so commonly do and love on the Trade Spotting Show, those instant replays. That let's get some VAR on the go. Click on the replay button, go back to the start of the 16th of November, because that was today. Remember the 16th of November. Here is the start of price action today. Above this 50 period moving average, that's very positive. Hit itself above the 200. Aiming to the top side, well, you've had 1, 2, 3, 4 touches up there, none of which were divergent. Touching the 50, maybe you do go on and try now straight at the open, maybe a little bit of a dip here to the 50, recover it, and then try it straight up at 12, straight at open. That's what it looks like. It'd be a strong open, but you know, your 200 period moving average here at $204. That's also calling out for price action, which gives you an idea of where the range is likely to be. We already know that it's up here and down around here because we talked about this earlier at the start of the show, but that's what it looks like, so we'll see what happened. Push play, go, guys, it did open up. Did push high, came down, touched the 200 period, the bottom of that formation. It went up, got to our top of our hard range, and then ended. 5 minutes. Well, not all that much, right? But you did actually go through the full range that you would have hoped to have seen looking at the charts on the 5-minute time frame from the start of the day. Is it magic? No, it's just excellent technical analysis. Lots of little lessons, plausibly. We didn't get to go through them as it was happening. Let me do that one again to see, right? Where was the start of 16th of November? Here. Come on, give me it. And then I'll do it on a 1-minute time frame, see if there's any lessons that pop out at us. 1 minute below the center line, you've got strength to the downside represented by this trend here. ADX doesn't say there's much going for that trend. Momentum on the way to the downside hasn't petered out yet, so that suggests why the first couple of minutes weren't fantastic. There they are. Dramatic moves when the DMI fails its cross and price action came back down again. Same time, more or less, slightly later, you got the signal on the MACD. You see, you got the flash here on Rocket Crux DMI suggesting price will come back down, so you knew this wasn't going to last this high. At the same time as that, you were at the RSI across the center line, so that was the start of that flash. It was a top move to the top side and the returning move to the downside. Then you fill in the flash. You're held below your 179 and your 50 period moving average, and then for the rest of the day it looks still 6 times touch that bottom of the formation. There you go, touched it, and then you're back at the area you came from a couple of minutes beforehand. So we'll see, that does constitute a test of something. You go to resistance, you test support, you've come from support here, 1, 2, that was a little bit sustained action up there without managing to break it, so perhaps you do get a positive reaction here. If it does bounce tomorrow at this area, should it go down again and push to 205, 206, perhaps that previous low here at 206, spot 23. If it does get there and have a quick bounce up and recover the 50 and the 200 period, even though it's a 1 minute time frame, then what will that do to us on the 15? Well, we'll have held that 50 period moving average, we'll have put in that higher low test. If it comes down to a retracement from its very low, like these tiny time frames, it does recover from there, and then the area you want to see it above is $207.77, give or take some cents. You want to see it open and close there, about 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, at which point you'll be looking up to the 200 and teens again, and that's what we're looking for from GME tomorrow. The long term might go down slightly further. Max Pain is slightly lower than it was last week. We can expect to see moves towards the open interest that are yet above important horizontal levels or below those areas of resistance. There isn't the interest yet to take us to other areas based on the open interest. And looking at the TA, I would advise caution. So that is GME. Now on to AMC Technical Analysis. Good moves, sustained positive price action. Lose move these menus out of the way because they are quite fortunate where they're placed. They're above the 50. This is a 15, so we'll stay here for a minute, which itself is above the 200. Negative sign on RSI, bearish divergence here. taken your most recent high, negative trend in the ascendancy but no power behind it, and then momentum to the downside, though that hasn't taken you very far, which would be positive to suggest that that was the size of the momentum to the downside. The price action didn't make it. So, but then again, this is in the context of an uptrend, and so that perhaps takes on a different inflection. But we'll go straight up to the daily time frame here, put it back on where we can see things. Hello chat, how are you? Hi Josh. Hey Jamie, I know you are very excited to have a weekly close in an uptrend 2 weeks ago, but after the close last week to the downside, is that now considered failed? No, it's not it's not a failed thing, Josh. It's happened, it happened. You know, we had a higher high on the weekly time frame on GME. Like, nobody can ever take that away from you now. And the weekly trend, it's in an uptrend. So it's a weekly trend in an uptrend. Doesn't mean that it's only going to go up. It's one direction only. It's relentless. And the whole rules around stocks, charts, and then physics have all completely broken all of a sudden. No, it just means, yes, excellent. We managed to put in a higher high on a weekly time frame. Here it is, weekly, GME. Here's that close. It's higher than our previous high, and that speaks to a change in the previous trend. That previous trend had a high, had a lower high, had a lower high, had a lower high, and now, for the first time since anything in 2021, we've had a higher high on that weekly close, which is super positive. We've also had higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low. So that suggests that we weren't in a downtrend, but we were in a period of flux. We certainly weren't in a clear defined uptrend on a weekly time frame. And a weekly time frame is very, very, very significant because people with lots of money go in at those moves. Smart money usually puts it there and accumulates once it breaks through resistance. So that doesn't mean that they're going to do it at resistance, you know. They're not doomslayers, these institutions, but they're not stupid, so they do buy at support rather than resistance, and that is at around 170 bucks. 169. I could see it at 164, 163 on a wick, and that being an amazing bargain. People laughing their chops off about it at some point in a couple of weeks' time. And then, you know, over a period of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks, I mean, this period of flux lasted for the whole of our 2021 so far. So that trend is what I'm speaking to. Hopefully, Josh, you get what I'm saying here, is that trend will increase or at least continue. And if we were to extrapolate that, we would say, well, continuation, higher highs on the weekly closes. Even if you come in and put in lows, they won't hopefully be lower lows. If they are lower lows, then you've got a buffer between your trend change as having put in a higher high just beforehand. And so even if it doesn't materialize as you might most ideally hope for, it does show you that even if price action does come down a bit, we've got that buffer. Like, it's the balls in our court in this sense. We're the ones that are controlling price action. We're the ones that are in control again. Like, there's no way that the short hedge funds wanted to see a higher close on a weekly time frame. No way. Absolutely no way. You know, sure, they don't want prices at certain places. Cool, they'll have programs that decide the ways to invest and places to invest that will be most beneficial for their overall portfolio. And some aspects of those programs will work in a similar fashion to algorithms, but that doesn't mean that they're controlling price action. They're responding to it. They're dynamic algorithms, and the main factors that get put into those to work it out, the final answer is the price action. And unfortunately for them, what they're having to take in is that there's been a higher weekly close. That makes a difference. It also suggests that that previous trend we were speaking about, that flux, all of that up and down, where are we going? People feeling that they don't know, they're unsure, or this general lack of confidence that loads of biatches have had for the whole of 2021. That's now wiped out. You know, you got to focus on facts, right? Especially when you don't know anything else that's going on, and that's what people who feel uncomfortable and unconfident are, right? They don't understand what's happening at the minute, and so here's something for them, right? They can consider it a picture book. Josh, yourself, you might be looking for more nuanced or sophisticated things, or going deeper into the analysis, and which that's all great. But there's only so much of this fact that you can take with you when you go into the detail. It's more about speaking to the overall trend and the good news. The good news is brought to you by TradeSpotting and Rocky Outcrop, youtube.com/Rocky Outcrop. Check it out. Thank you very much. And now back to the AMC. what did we get done here? We talked about it. We're on a weekly time frame here, so let's stick on it and, you know, like, I'll push all the wrong buttons for a second and take the price action off screen. So here's the weekly time frame. I'll turn off the drawings. This is slightly different in that you can see you haven't got that. You have got that lower high, lower high, lower high weekly time frame. You've got, like, let's call this a low. You've got a higher low, right? 3 each. So anyone who tells you GME charts and AMC charts are exactly the same, they're definitively wrong. I'd like them to come on the channel and I'll enlighten them as to why they're wrong, and then have a more interesting discussion about the differences between the charts of GME and AMC, which are quite different. So they're very different on significant time frames, and I've spoken about this with people in the community who really have got a big influence and know what they're talking about, and they would agree with me, despite having said those charts are the same. After a discussion, they kind of change their mind, and I'm not saying that's negative. I'm not saying it's bearish, and anyone who takes that, right, you really need to look deeper into the message that I'm putting across here. So here's your weekly time frame. And just to clarify, you know, you're accumulating that resistance. That's happening. It doesn't matter how you feel about this stock, regardless of how you feel about its CEO. And despite his efforts to add liquidity to the markets, which he's been very successful at doing, it hasn't managed to have a desperately negative effect on price action. And this week, for example, you're holding the 8-period moving average. That's a very bullish sign. Very bullish, Brad Ghoulish. Welcome. Thanks, Rocky. That's very good. Joe Exotic, how you doing, mate? Good to see you. I like listening to Trace Spawn before bed because I fall asleep in 5 minutes. Wow, falling asleep in 5 minutes, that'd be amazing. I kind of get 5 minutes of sleep, so you and I are a little bit different there, Joe. But then, from all intents and purposes, everything else I've heard about you, we're exactly the same. It's great to have you here, my friend. Accumulating that resistance, a very positive move. It's a weekly time frame. You might talk about it as a bull flag, you might talk about it as a pennant. It's definitely accumulating that resistance. Or is it distributing? Well, you're now, like, in this time frame above this center line of the RSI. Hot dang, Jackson Hole. So you're above the center line here. Fantastic. Covering your own moving average. Even better. They've got a positive trend still in force. Kala, new member, thank you so much. But is it? No, it's midnight, so we're celebrating those anniversaries. Happy anniversary, Kala. On that note, there was 2 Fridays ago we had a Bitcoin donation, biggest one I'd ever have on the channel. I was super excited about it. Got messages afterwards saying, well done, congratulations, and that's such a watershed moment. It didn't go through because of some double spend issue. So if that was you and it was an accident, the money never made it, buddy. Have a look. Biggest donation I ever got, so I don't want it to just be sat there nowhere doing nothing. But if it was, like, I don't know also, because I looked at Coinbase and spoke to other people and they said maybe it was just somebody messing with you, so I don't know. So I don't know how what it is. Anyway, put it out there. Also, it was from anonymous, so I can't contact whoever it was to tell them. So then I'm in a bit of like, what do I say or do? I don't know. Anyway, that's the information. So here, AMC 4260 on the close, 4255 post market. Weekly time frame shows things very bullish. Trend, continuation. You've got a cross between your 50 and your 200 period moving average. That's a golden cross. Does it get tested on a weekly time frame? No, it's not a golden cross really. The only place you really find golden crosses, and where I would expect them to definitely get some sort of a test if they're tradable, is on the daily time frame and below, right? Intraday time frames and then the daily time frame. So that's what we're looking at. 200 period moving average here is at 29.62. There's a flash on the DMI at $10.88. At some point, that's likely to be filled. What do you want me to say? It's at some point, right? What happens between then and now is anybody's guess. But let's have a go at it. You are above the 50 period moving average there on the daily. That's very positive. This may be it just trying up, having a drop down, feeling to break this. Because I mean, this is breaking its previous high in this side of price action, but this is the test at 51.90, 53 and change. That's the zone you would really look to go to say we have put in a trend change since these lower highs. And until that happens, turn the drawings back on. I know there's a lot of them and it makes them a little bit nasty, but you can see that there's this downward sloping supply line. And we had previously come in and broken above that. Looked like the body even closed here up at 45.17 outside that area. Price action opened down the next day, moved down, this retrace quite deep down to sort of horizontal support. Next time we made it above that downward sloping supply line, it was all wick. Body closes back on it again, nothing definitive now. You'd need at least one more open and close definitively above that downward sloping supply line in order to say you'd broken that particular aspect of the trend. And even then you would then have to go on with a daily time frame, open and close above this previous horizontal support that you put in on your failure to break it the last time, and this other one that you put in when you failed to break it that time. That would take you to the 786 if you got there from this downward move. That's the Fibonacci sequence reaching that level and above. I suggest that you're likely to go on and break this high. So that's what you're looking to, 4480. Break 4480, see a good move up to the next target on this thing. It's around $55, but there are questions that will be asked, serious questions, at $50, right? That's 618 of this greater Fibonacci that this thing's made, this, since it was where its all-time high to its low this year. Well, low this since summer, right? So you're looking at that and thinking, right, it's to break above that 618. That's so very difficult. It's also this previous level of horizontal support. With regards to the overall formation, this potential harmonic it's in, that's not desperately important. But as it's the 618 across here, you know, and because, like, which is why that B point is there, but because it's a 618 and because it's so important with the horizontal, like, we've never really been above there since we dropped below it. It's a very important level, and so there'll be questions asked at 50. So if you go there from here, you'll likely come back all the way to here. If you come back down now and get a lower test in beforehand, then you might be able to persist up at that level and break through it once you get there. 4 hour time frame AMC, stretch out a little bit. Here you've got an open and close about that area, above that top side resistance. You're also above your 8 period moving average. Your 50 is below your 200. It's not the same, right? That's not the same as on other assets. You're above certain points, but you're not breaking you're not breaking even more important levels. It's just a positive price action for this leg of the trend. But since this high here isn't actually all that significant, $46, like the next level being up at around 50, because it's just not challenging these levels, like that's kind of anemic. It is. And then at which point you're asking yourself, like, even, you know, I'm not like trying to give anyone an impression or infect your trading. I'm just saying it looks like it's at resistance, right? That's what it speaks to. This is at resistance. You don't buy at resistance if you're smart, you buy at support. You yourself aren't going to change the market, right? You're likely punishing yourself as opposed to changing the market or punishing it. So you want to be joining where it's cheap, and cheap relative to how it'll be in future, and that would be speaking to buying at support, not resistance. So you're thinking about that, and for both of these assets, so, you know, I just said it about GME, so get off my ass. There it is, like, you're looking at retrace and like slightly lower entries. I know people have said things, and I've been included in their tweets, and they're like, it can't go 10.5% in less than 3 days and stuff, and it's like, well, I mean, I'm not going to break it to you. You know, you could perhaps, like, price action can do its own version of that. I don't need to be the bringer of bad news. Certainly it can do that sort of thing, can do that in less than you can take time it can take you to say, holy shit, I've been a bit of a fanny. Anyway, here's the 50 period moving average, there's the 200, we're on the 15 period move. You can see this is still continuation, uptrend, higher highs, higher lows, great, but you're below your RSI center line here and below your own moving average. You've got a negative trend in effect on the DMI. You've had it since this most recent local high itself. That was divergent on your RSI. You've got building momentum to the downside. I mean, it's kind of freaking obvious at this stage, right? 1 minute time frame. I know I'm speaking against the trend, and I'm a trend trader and whatever, right? But look at what the technical analysis I did there across the time frames. You know, that's how you understand this shit, right? So for 16th of November, we're going to get the replay on. Yes, some learnings here perhaps on the 1 minute time frame. So come on, give me my replay button. Right, we're going, we don't need roads. This is not consolidating at resistance, right? You see how here you have a range, right? It's quite obvious range too, where you've had a number of low points, and I'll mark them out with a horizontal line. And then you've had these high points up here, right? That's up here. 2 seconds. Hello, Jamie speaking. Okay, a car park. I think I can guess where you are. I'll just come inside the front door. And
I say, ooh, you're so beautiful in every way. I said, ooh, I said, ooh, oh, 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 I said, I wanna take you there, I wanna take you there, I wanna take you that you're beautiful in every way. I wanna take you there, I wanna take you there, I wanna take you that you're beautiful in every way. I wanna take you there, I wanna take you there, yeah. I wanna rock you, oh baby, 'cause I wanna be the one who makes you smile. Just let me love you, oh baby, 'cause I wanna be the one who makes you smile. I will run with you in the darkness, hold your hand with you when it rains. We will make this light together, 'cause there is nothing that's gonna keep.
pardon me, sorry about that. Didn't expect that to happen. And we're back. So this is not consolidating at resistance. This is hovering at support. It's had no positive reaction since it got here. On the 1 minute time frame, you're below the 50 and the 200. Maybe you're not below the 50, but it itself is below the 200, so that's negative. And price action on this looks like a little bit anemic. If it does continue this move upwards, you'd expect it to find some resistance. Perhaps not at these crappy little highs, but these breakdown points here. Maybe you do make it above there. Let's see, negative trend has actually turned off in 1 minute, and you've got a really strong spike on your RSI. That's good. Come back, MACD. Please come back, MACD. Bye, MACD. Don't care about you anymore. Right, so then I suggested probably confluent to RSI, because the DMI already says that actually you've just won a trend check there. You've got the ADX pushing up. You've spent a long time at support. Now to see that move does mean it's going to push up. We'll see where it goes. The fact that you've been quite anemic and down here for a while suggests that people will then take profit when it gets back up to this high at 43.28. At that point, it might cause a little degree of divergence. We'll see how the price action goes. Getting ahead of ourselves now. Let's push play. So you broke that 200, came back, put in a DMI flash. Price action collapsed downwards again. Came in, test these lower levels of support. You're looking at coming back up to here. When you do you bounce down again, use it as resistance? You do. This is support then of your previous formation that you're on the top side, having come in there and put in an inverted head and shoulder, done the measured move, not got back up to fill. Have you filled that gap there? I don't think you have completely. Now you have. You came in with a slightly lower low there, very bullishly divergent. You could expect a reaction. You knew where it was going because of the DMI flash. You came up here, put in another high. That itself was divergent. On its second touch, was it? No, it was okay. It was divergent on its second touch there. Tried to come back down, caught by the 200 period moving average. A third touch of divergence. At that point, you went draking the 200, and you just drop way off back to this morning's opening price. Down, use that area as the breakout zone as support again. So you got a little bit cheaper at 41.32. Then you, but it did look like price action was going down. The fact that it turned into a buy and it went up again was good news. There was take profits at your previous peak, and then at this extension to 44.44, previous level of horizontal support. We can see it marked on this green line on the chart, from where price action came to a rest. Previously it wasn't able to put anything definitive above there. Every time it was divergent. Now you've lost the center line again. 200 steep downtrend, you're below 50, negative display, negative all round there. Good move at this side of things. ADX pushing down, putting in another flash. Two flashes you had there, and I think one of them was filled relatively quickly, second one. So very volatile. Trades within a range, that range being 10% is quite significant thereabouts. The fact that it's so weak on the trend now speaks to further volatility. That's going to come in at the same place as your previous flash, like within the same liquidity zone as this previous flash. So you can expect that to be a pivot point, and the volatility that comes in there eventually to provide like a move that takes it with this previous range. When this volatility does crack one way or the other, it's going to go above 44.44, or it's going to go below 39.40 again. So that's what you're looking at. Quite a big range to come when it does break that move, but at the minute I don't see that's necessarily going to happen. This support, one low, another lower, higher high, and that being part of the trend, but it being divergent. This was bullishly divergent, which is what took such enthusiasm into the move. As you can see here, price action was at a low, lower than it was here, but that's higher here on the RSI than it was there. So see how that looks on this positive move afterwards. The fact that you managed to hold your 50 after coming up to this horizontal gives it another touch. That being then divergent from this high, you know, it's higher in price action, but it's not on the oscillator, so there's the bearish side of the same thing, and back down again, testing this horizontal. Not really, it went straight onto the top side of this formation, so this area may not be as strong as it once looked, and here we are creeping along it again with the 200 period hitting you on the head. So I would suggest that it looks like you'll be looking for lower prices, and that would be confluent with the TA we did at the start of this section. So that's it. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the next section of the show, the exciting part where everybody gets to see. Let me just double check, because I had a bit of an emergency there. I need to check that everything's still set up properly in round 2. Yes, that worked. And that's me again. Hi, me. Some price action on those charts so they don't look so naked. Ha! Speaking about naked, what's it up to? Up 14%, that's quite interesting. Up 14% came, there you go, straight to, you've got a flash there again, but it went like, I mean, you can't see it, but we do the TA on it, called it perfectly, it looks beautiful. People would tell you that that's not possible and that I should be thrown in jail. So there's lots of great information on this show, lots of ways to change your life, but there's some things that will never need to change. There's some things that are so perfect that they're already exactly as we need them. One of them is not the like button, it hasn't been hit enough. But one of them is Tadpole Games. Just in time for Naked. You want to actually see Naked TA. Not that kind. Right, so let's look at Naked then. You know, just jumping in there with that Naked, you know what you're like, eh? So here was this move. You got your entry, fantastic. You've got your first take profit target. It happened all in one day. Congratulations. Congratulations. You held your 786 on that retrace, so the trend wasn't necessarily broken. You've come back up to 200, 179 period moving average. Jim, why do you use that in short? So nice to see that. To see it nice. Positive trend, DMI. You're above your set line on the RSI. There is a suggestion that this thing has rolled over a little bit, similar to the way AMC putting in highs, not breaking out of its formations. So where are you looking for retest in that sense? Well, this is already at a low. This is completely different from AMC, in that AMC's not come from this huge downtrend. This is like historically low prices. The news about the merger is like taking on a completely different face. This company's got a whole different future ahead of it. The 236 on the breakdown takes you up to these previous horizontals at 1.38 and whatnot, and when you get there it'll be a fantastic move. It's already, you know, 100% increasing where you are at the minute, but likely you know, that's the daily time frame. Let's see, actually, maybe it does just continue on and on from here. This is incredibly bullish engulfing candle. It's fantastic, it looks beautiful, and it does speak to continuation. You're above the center line, above your own moving average on the 2-day as well. That's very positive. Here you've got everything you need on the DMI, and you've got it on a, you know, your things are looking really good on naked now. Just saying, starting to look really good. There's not going to be all that many chances to get cheaper maybe now. Here's your horizontal close. This is a weekly time frame. You can see if you want to put in a new weekly high, you need to finish above 0.7541. Get above there, that's a new weekly high. It just has to be this Friday. If you also make it above the 0.5 at 0.7743, then you've broken that previous trend definitively. I'd look to move to 0.9. If you open and close 4 hours there, you're going to the 236 at 1.382. That's 100% move. Your horizontal resistance above there is at 198 something. And you likely would find resistance there. It'd be a good trade profit target. That's what it looks like at the minute. It's very strong. Everything's great. Then let's go back down then. 4 hour time frames. Great, great. Need a little bit more strength come in there. 6.615. Prices at 0.744, and there's a DMI flash on the 4 hour at 0.6615. That likely does then come through at some point. Would expect it to be soon. You've got your 50 and 200 still in flux with each other here on 4 hour. Perhaps even a negative cross about to come through. Price action come back down to this area, get a wick in there, and then try higher again, measure the trend after that. This is a definitive difference from how it's been before, and broke all these different horizontals. It's filled this gap, 0.74 and change. It's filled that and come back down to the bottom side of it, which is using as horizontal support at the minute. That also is the golden pocket from this previous Fibonacci. I would expect it to come down and test that 786 and the 200 period moving average, put in a higher low and then a little bit of slower price action to take it up to these levels before you see it up at 0.777777 or thereabouts. 0.77541, I said it earlier. Anyway, there's what you're looking at with naked. If it does all go drop back down again, you've got so many horizontal levels where it likely bounces and support, so managing your position isn't all that difficult. And also doesn't look like something you need to desperately jump into right away, but good move for everybody that's in it already. Congratulations. Us. Eve Go has continued that retrace. There's your 50, there's your 200. You've got a horizontal level of support of 14 and change. 1440, not a bad price for this thing. ADX suggests that this retrace downwards doesn't have that much strength in it. It would be natural. You've touched the bottom of your bearish control zone on the hourly and come back over it. Does that speak to continuation? If you drop back in again, I wouldn't be too pleased to see that. On to back up a 4 hour time frame. Drop below that 236, closed your gap. Now open and closing dailies underneath it. Here's your golden pocket. It's in at around $10.78. Are you going to get a test down there and fill that gap at some stage? Likely on a 4 hour time frame. Big ass gap like that, likely. But does it happen right now? Well, you could test higher and fail and then come back down. You could put in what is quite a slow descent and then test important horizontals and moving averages, fail some of them as they've evolved. Extrapolate these out, you can see that that would be around the 0.5. Perhaps price action meets them, tests lower, comes back up, closes above them, and then goes on again. Yuko's got a lot to go going for it, but here was the rumor. You got all the rumor. Here was news, and whatevs. Right? There actually really wasn't any rumors. It was just Rocky and I telling everybody, if you buy this, you could change your life. Probably find me quote you me on that exactly on a clip on the internet, and I said at the time, like I always do, not financial advice. There it is. Doing that, changing people's lives. So that's that, and that's 2 bonus coins. Yeah. 2 bonus coins before we go to round number 1. of Tadpole Games. So you were advised at the very beginning, and I hope you didn't miss it because it is very important, to get into 5 teams. Those teams being koala bears, pirates, peaches, camels, and top hats. So pick a team and then pick a team captain. Those teams again, koala bears, pirates, camels, top hats, peaches. They were camels, peaches, koala bears, pirates, and top hats. So you got that right. You're either a pirate, a koala bear, a camel, or a top hat. So you picked that, you joined that team, and then you pick a team captain. Congratulations, you must have done most of that by now. Then you pick your favourite colour. Just your favourite colour, nothing to do with the team, nothing to do with anybody else. Just your absolute favourite if you had to choose between brown, grey, beige, and pea green. Those are your choices. Make them now. As we go on to round 1, that beautiful round of this beautiful game, Tadpole Games. There's an alert. Holy shit, $174.99. Dude, you and Rocky are awesome, but I fucking hate YouTube bollocks apart from you two. Wow, Chris, that's a ridiculously massive donation. Thank you very much. That's really appreciated. We and Rocky, awesome. That's a nice compliment. Yes, we try. Rocky's really good. He did a great show today. But I fucking hate YouTube bollocks. You're telling me, man. The more I've done it, the more I don't like it either. I did an 11-hour show on Friday and then a 9-hour show the week before, and both of them YouTube decided to block in 57 countries and then remove entirely from the internet, which I thought was a little bit over the top. But hey, this is the way it works. Or doesn't work. What? I don't know. Thank you very much. Yes, also it's in Great British Pounds, which are super heavy. What colour choices do we have again? You have the colour choices of brown, grey, beige, and pea green. Brown, grey, beige, pea green. 4 colours. Brown, grey, beige, pea green. I know it's hard. Hard. And sometimes you're like, oh, my favourite is grey, and then next day you're like, actually it's brown, but you know, a snapshot. Now you don't have to say it necessarily now, though if you do, other people will know, and if you try to change your mind later, you'll get shamed for it, 100%. Koala bears think they're going to rise up or being put down last week. I don't know. There's a lot to be said about the koala bears, but that's not necessarily guaranteed. Tadpole Games, here it comes. Tadpole Games, round 1 coming up. Oh my god, it's Tadpole Games. It's exciting. It's crazy. It's a little bit mad. And that's just like all of us. This it is. The door closed, the window opened. This is it. The window of the future. Tadpole Games. For 1,000 billion trillion years. Pick your teams, pick your captains, pick your favourite colours. Here we go for round 1 of the greatest game show that's ever invented and ever will be. It's Tadpole Games. Boom. On to round 1. In the meantime, there is a secret trick that can get you right to the final. You can get right ahead of everybody else. Nobody will be able to stop you either. If you can draw and submit to me publicly on Twitter your drawing of the advert for Gary Gensler's Tadpole Timeshare. So there is this man, doesn't bear any resemblance to anyone living or dead, called Gary Gensler in my story. And he owns, as everybody fucking knows, this huge conglomerate that sells timeshares to tadpoles. And quite frankly, it's an economic tragedy. The guy gets away with insane business practices. And it's as if he can operate with complete impunity. His business is growing really, really fast, and he needs some adverts, right? Exposure is so very important to these new fledgling businesses. It's those that are metamorphosizing into something greater. They need that little bit of helping hand, and you can give it to them by getting straight to the final at the same time of Tadpole Games. Isn't that interesting? You should definitely try it out, especially if you're too stupid to make it through the rounds normally, or you get knocked out, which could quite easily happen, or you turn up late, which so many people often do. It's not like I have a start time for this thing, but that doesn't matter. You can't just have your phone on constantly on YouTube, try spawn, refresh. It happens. I do it, and I know when I'm not on. So great, excellent. Tweet at trade spotting, right? _ trade spotting, because the real person like who is trade spotting, that i.e. me, but there's somebody who's got that name on Twitter, like they have no clue what they're doing. They really ought to give it to me, then it would make their whole life easier. I don't know why they don't. I would if I was them, because I'm the only trade spotting. It's just a stupid concept. But hey, they're currently not aware of that. They will be eventually. So tweet at _ trade spotting with your picture for the advert, for the new advert for Gary Gensler's Tadpole Timeshares. That'll get you straight through to the final. The final of this thing, Tadpole Games, starting soon in 1 minute, 1 minuto and 40 secondos. Tadpole Games in 1 minute 40 seconds. This is it. It's Tadpole Games. It's 1 minute and 40 seconds.